What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All 22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All 22 Fantasy Football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com. If you do decide to sign up today, reach out to info@all-22.com. Send us an email. We will get you in a league. We will get you all ready to go and competing today. Ray, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. This is I think our favorite thing to do, really. This is just the nuts and bolts of what we love, just evaluating draft prospects, digging into the film. There's nothing better than this. And why not start draft season a little early? It's already late October. So I think we're like almost at the exact halfway point between last year's draft and next year's draft. So why not? Why not start now?
When people are like you, Ray, right? They're 1-6, they're 0-7, right? It's time to start scouting.
Pretty sure I'm 6-1.
in one of your 8 leagues. But yeah, no, this is exactly what we love to do. The bread and butter. It's honestly probably what we do best, you and I at least. And I was super pumped to get into this quarterback class just because of the depth that is available, while also maybe not having some superstar high end. But that's the narrative we're hearing. Now it's time, do we go in and prove that it's true? What is real? What is fiction? And I think starting with Garrett Nussmeier is a very interesting choice, right? Because Nussmeier is being talked about and has been talked about as kind of the true and steady prospect in this draft class, where maybe he wasn't really mentioned as ever being a number 1 overall pick, but it was always, hey, this guy's going to be a first round guy. So I was really excited to see if that narrative is true. Nussmeier is going to be 24 years old on draft day. So this is a very old prospect, right? But we've seen a lot of that in recent years due to COVID years, extra medical years that the NCAA is giving out. So 24 years old on draft day, but only a 2-year starter. So in his 5 years at LSU, he has only been the starting quarterback last year and this year. 6'1", 205 pounds, so a smaller quarterback in terms of NFL quarterback size, right? Some just quick statistics, right? 60 big-time throws on his career, 35 turnover-worthy plays, 16 big-time throws this year, 9 turnover-worthy plays this year, a 9.6 career ADOT, down to 7.7 this year, 14.1 pressure to sack rate this year, and a 2.49 time to throw. So if I just look at the numbers, the narrative that kind of tells me is this is a guy that's more of a pocket passing drop-off guy than maybe somebody that takes a lot of risk. But to tell you the truth, that didn't necessarily match everything I saw on the film. So I am really excited to get into this. Do you have any initial things you want to share before we get going with the film?
I'll save it for when we get in the film before giving any other takes on that. I think that's a good summary to start here, and I just can't wait to dive in. So let's do it.
Well, before we do, Ray, you usually give the, hey, this is what we're doing in the film, right? What we are doing is we are showing trends. Can you just do that for me, man?
You're right. We're a little rusty, right? This is day one for this. But yeah, so what we're showing you here is trends that we see. So we'll watch full complete games of these players. And then what we'll show here is trends that we've identified in watching those games that tell you the story about this player. So if we point out something here during this episode, this isn't something that shows up once or twice. This is not a highlight film. This is not a low light film. This is not a superlatives film. This is to show you trends that we've identified when evaluating these prospects that either translate well or not to the next level and could impact their draft stock and their future landing spot and their future in the league. So again, we are evaluating trends and identifying trends, not showing highlights, not showing low lights, not trying to be contrarian here, just identifying the trends to try to tell you and identify who these players actually are.
Okay, so before we jump into the film, just real quick, like and subscribe, right? It helps us continue to do this. And we are going to be doing a lot more film breakdowns, which I know y'all really like. So like and subscribe. Also, top left corner of the screen, you're going to see the QR code. That will take you to all-22.com where you can sign up to play fantasy football with all 22. So definitely recommend you go and do that. But let's jump into it, Ray. I'm pumped. So first kind of trend I saw was for a guy that's talked about as the tried and true, going to be the bread and butter, like very vanilla kind of guy, but it's going to have the very high floor. One of the things I saw pretty repeatedly is not necessarily the best footwork. So let's take a look at this play here. So in the shotgun, drops back, you see him start to drift, right? And he's trying to get into kind of open space. Maybe he feels a little bit of pressure on his right, but in reality, he kind of just drifted to his left, which is where pressure's coming from. And he's getting ready to throw the ball, and he does it without really setting and squaring his feet. So he's kind of whipping his hips and throws it to the second receiver coming across here. And you'll see the cornerback almost makes a really nice play and takes this ball away. I think this is another good angle. Again, he kind of goes into pressure, steps into it, and again, puts it in a way that the cornerback could have made a play on this ball. And to me, it was really a footwork issue where if he stayed, away from pressure, truly kept his body square and stepped into the throw, he would have had a little bit more strength behind it to maybe reach his receiver instead of this kind of wobbly pass that almost gets picked off.
Yeah. So two things. First is an unnecessary drift in the pocket, which is just not needed. But second is he doesn't have the arm to get away with that type of throw. He doesn't have the arm strength to get away with all arm throws at the next level. And if you could rewind it back to the first view of this isn't necessarily a trend. I think he's actually pretty good with this, but watch number 8. If you could freeze it right here. So he's throwing the ball to the slot receiver here at right around the 45-yard line, about to make his break. The DB number 8 here, his leverage is to the outside. So he's throwing the out route to the sideline, and the DB's leverage is to the outside. So if he's drifting because he feels some sort of pressure to his right, that he does have the ability to really, if he does, step up into a throw like this, he's actually drifting away and throwing to the defender's leverage here, which maybe because he's rushing the throw a bit, he thinks he can, he needs to get it out. But that's another thing too, is the leverage of the play was just not here. The DB has outside leverage, and he's still going to try to get that throw to the outside while not having everything behind it. And you see the defender's able to make a break on the ball and get hands on it. At the next level, that window's even smaller. That could be going the other way for a turnover.
Yes. All right, cool. So this kind of trend with poor footwork is something that is going to come up throughout the film. But the next play I wanted to jump into is him using play action. And I will say this is definitely a strength of his, which is not uncommon for college quarterbacks, right? Reliance on play action is pretty common. A lot of NFL teams with young quarterbacks are doing it as well. So it's not a knock on Nussmeier. It is a compliment that he does this well. Let's take a look at this play here. So little play action, right? Quick throw. He does a lot of this, right? Those little quick ones, just where it's like, hey, we're going to read this. We're going to just pull it in. First read, guys open, dumping it off. It's like a 5-yard throw in reality. Not game breaking, doesn't really change a lot, but it's something he does. Second play is more of the same. So again, another little play action, pulls it out. He's looking left, and a really nice throw over the middle of the field. So the next few plays I'm going to show are about his ability to hit middle of the field. So that is something I will kind of go back to. So before I do, Ray, do you want to say anything about the first play action here? I could run it back.
First play action here, I think this is what he is. He can stay on script really well. So he's going to read 47 here. 47 bites on the action, and he's just going to go ahead and throw it right in that window over the middle behind him for a quick gain there. Maybe, is it too early in the video for comic relief? Just watch number 29 on Florida here. So yes, before we get into the comedy, this is a middle open look. So he sees this the whole way. He's making sure that safety maybe doesn't rotate over at the bottom of the screen, sees the middle open, and is going to throw it. You see that wide window there, so it's beautiful. If you could back this up like 2 frames, and then let's just focus on number 29 here. And it actually is even better from the other view. I don't know what technique that is, but we're not trying to field ground balls, but yeah, it's just not good. It's just not good. It's a mismatch the whole way. And then if you let it run, watch him call for help as the ball is in the air. He's waving his hands at the safety 14 to come on over and help him out. Way too late. Nussmeier identifies it. It's a huge gain. Watch it from the other angle. I hope you have the other angle for this, because I had to pause and just I had to pause for laughter several times. So just watch 29, shuffle, and then watch him wait. Hey, come on over. Help me out. What are you doing? Like,
but also like, look how he gave up. Like everybody else is running after the guy and he's just chilling.
He's just like, oh yeah, like, oh no, like, dude, you can't call for help mid play and then throw your hands in the air at the safety.
Dude, that gets you pulled real quick on my team.
That's why their coach got fired. So yeah, a little comic relief there, but yes, Nussmeier identifies middle open look pre-snap, confirms it post-snap right away, and knows exactly where he's going to his mismatch over the middle of the field, 50-plus yard gain. That's what he does. He's a vet. I don't see all the vet things all the time from him, but that's one of the vet things that he certainly does consistently is those sort of middle reads, identifies them quickly, and if it's there, he's going to go for it.
Yes, and I mean, the reason I wanted to kind of talk about this as well, right, is it's a really good indicator for NFL success, especially with a guy that's 6'1", right? A lot of times when you have shorter quarterbacks, smaller quarterbacks, it's hard for them to see middle of the field. So to see that Nussmeier has that as a strength of his is definitely important. So here he kind of, fakes right, kind of gets the safety to bite a little bit, and then he sees, okay, I could either probably dump it over the head of these two linebackers to 14 who's crossing the field, but he has this deep man on the outside open who's coming to the middle of the field. So again, taking advantage of an easier, shorter throw to the middle of the field and hits it really, really nice, right where he was supposed to, right in that open space. I thought this was a really well executed play. Again, looking off the safety to the right, linebackers are definitely going right too after that. A lot of momentum going that way. Well-designed play as well, right? Like that's just very good coaching, great play call. Good play all around. Anything on that one? I have two more of middle of the field if we want to just keep it rocking.
Keep rolling.
All right. So again, we're going to go back to middle of the field. I think this may have been my favorite throw of the day. So if you just take a look here again, so you're going to see there's the corner sitting out wide. You have a linebacker, number 47, going into that zone as well, right? Getting into that flat curl area. Then you're going to have a safety as well. And right here, right? So there's three defenders kind of circling number one, this receiver at the top of your screen. And Nussmeier, it's not a perfect throw, right? There's something I'm going to consistently kind of talk about is how his accuracy is almost never perfect. It's almost, for a quarterback that wins the way he wins, it is concerning to me that he's almost never perfectly accurate. But I will say, like, great read by him and finding that little spot right there in the zone, especially like a very tight zone. That was, to me, a very, very well executed play. And it's obviously a huge gain for the offense. He's staring it down just about the whole way, which is not fantastic. But again, like that's pretty special right there. That's a great way to find that window and get the ball in there. Last one, just kind of showing the same thing here. Very much along the same lines. I'm going to run it back. So slot receiver basically is unguarded. You have a defensive tackle that tries to drop back in the zone. But he's a 350-pound man, and that's not going to do much when you can just kind of pop it over and there's nobody behind you. So again, finds a really nice middle of the field zone, two safeties over top. So he splits them a little bit, right? Another really nice big gain, and we'll show it from this angle as well. But it's one of my favorite qualities about him is just really good visibility of the middle of the field, which is very hard for smaller players. I think this kind of goes to the next thing I wanted to talk about is just escapability. Okay, no, I had one more over the middle of the field. Sorry, let's run it back one more time. This is another really, really nice throw by Nussmeier. Again, slot receiver kind of splitting the field. You have one safety up top. He's kind of bracketed really well. So if the players just continue getting to their spots, there's a good chance this is a very, very hard completion. Receiver, I will say, number one, nice move on that safety, right? So he kind of baits him outside, puts a hard foot in the ground, breaks inside. Safety kind of rebounds nicely, right? Catches his feet. He's still in decent position. But Nussmeier puts it again, just like in a spot where nobody else can really get this football. Touchdown, again, like a 30-yard throw, middle of the field. Just a really nice executed play. But again, watch, it's number 0. Sorry. Yeah. Number 0 just puts the freaking moves on him. And Nussmeier capitalizes. So I really like that. Now we're going to talk about escapability and kind of mobility issues. So this angle definitely makes it look worse, but let's look at this angle first. So snap, play action, wheels out. If you're looking at it again from this angle, the defensive guy that's pressuring him now had to go inside before coming outside. You have a blocker in front of you on the outside. So one would expect that a more mobile quarterback would step behind his blocker and move to the right to get to a more safe area. And Nussmeier does it really late and recognizes it really late. This angle is a bit more forgiving for him, just because I think here at this point you kind of think maybe the player has a bit of a free rush on the quarterback. I still think you have the outside, right? If right now he recognized it and broke to the outside, most quarterbacks in the NFL get away from this type of pressure, right? Especially like the way quarterbacks play today, Mahomes, guys like that. They do this 10 times a day, right? Nussmeier here is like, he's not recognizing this at all until the guy's basically in his face. And I just don't think he has any juice in his legs. I don't know if I'm alone in that, Ray. Like, again, I want you to jump in here. Have you seen something different from Nussmeier and his ability?
I thought Nussmeier felt pressure from his blind side really well. He's kind of a throwback, and it goes also to his middle of the field prowess, because you said he's 6'1", 2 and change.
205, yeah.
205. Like you said, on the smaller side, if the 6'1" is legit and not even, NFL combine 6 foot even. So let's just say he's 6'1" again, but on the smaller side, but seemed to be most effective over the middle of the field when it comes to feeling the routes and the defense just develop, and just having a good feel for when to release the ball into pockets over the middle, which is not always a common trait for smaller quarterbacks over the middle of the field. So that's one. But then also in the pocket, I felt he dealt with blindside pressure better than he did up the middle, of pressure that he could see even from the front side. And so that I would qualify as a front side pressure where, I don't know, maybe he just feels better than he sees. I don't know. It's a bit of a throwback in that sense. I did think he was surprisingly mobile at times. Again, when he felt some blindside pressure, he was able to buy more time and look downfield. But then when it was front side or, directly in front of him, which is tough to deal with for a lot of quarterbacks, I don't think he showed the same type of wiggle or ability to escape, scramble, and kind of keep things alive.
Okay, I'm in agreement with you, because there were plays I saw, again, at the college level for him, right, which is all we have right now, where he does have even designed run plays up the middle where he gets, a 10-yard gain, but it feels like I'm watching 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers do it, right? Rodgers can still do it, right, because he legit does at times, but it definitely doesn't look good and definitely doesn't feel good. It's not something you have confidence in. It's kind of how I felt. So again, going back to that first play I showed where it was like the poor footwork, and it concerned me for that reason. And also, like, right, he took a risk on that play where it's concerning, right? Like you have bad footwork and you're taking a chance on something that's not really there. I saw a lot of him taking risks, maybe because he's not seeing certain things perfectly clearly. So let's take a look now. I have 2 examples of that. So I'm going to show an example now of exactly that. Let's go ahead and hit play. So these are the kind of plays that concern me a little bit. So he looked left at the beginning of this, right? And I like that he's trying to see the whole field. But before it seems like he even saw what was in the next option, he was already making the decision that that's where he was throwing, right? So it's not fully scanning the field. It's more predetermined. I'm looking this way and I'm throwing this way, right? That's kind of what he does here. So he's trying to hit number one. Number one has a cornerback to his outside, but he's got a safety right in the lane where you have to kind of put this ball where momentum's leading you. So that's what Nussmeier does here. And as you can see, like, he actually puts it in a decent spot because he stops the receiver's momentum, tries not to get him hurt. But like, that's another, in my opinion, in turnover worthy play, right? Like, that's a potential interception just waiting to happen. And again, he didn't read who was open. He made a predisposition of who he was throwing the ball to, and it was a really almost negative play there. So showing another example of that. And I think this was actually like in the game 1 or 2 plays later. So again, he's dropping back here. And this one actually bothered me quite a bit. And I actually have some set pauses in here. So I'll just actually let this one run. But watch right here, right? So if you pause it right there, who do you think he's throwing the ball to here?
Well, I know who he's throwing the ball to here. I know who he should throw the ball to, and he's not, but he's throwing the ball underneath to, I don't know the number here, but to the front of the pylon instead of the back pylon, to the corner over the top.
Okay, but I hate that you knew that. All right, so if you didn't know that,
I
you would look at this
for the
and
episode.
say,
what do you mean?
it looks like he's throwing to the back of the end zone. And in my opinion, that's the right decision to make here. You have a cornerback closing down on this, it looks like a tight end who's going underneath, and you're not really giving him a great situation to score. Maybe you think he's bigger, tougher, faster than the guy he's going against, and he's going to run him over. Maybe. But I think you have the back of the end zone pretty open here with like a really nice throwing lane to hit number 14, crossing that back of the end zone. So let's go ahead and hit play. So there you go, incompletion. And I'm going to see it from this angle, and it pauses again. So again, I think right here, this view, yes, there's a corner back there waiting on the underneath route that could technically drop back if you were to throw this like kind of a lob over the top. But in my opinion, if you just kind of laser this ball in there, he's already like very open. So that one definitely stuck out to me as another example of, is he really seeing things as well as somebody where, again, if he doesn't have a big arm, if he doesn't have the running ability, what is his strength? Most times for players like him, it's he makes the right decisions and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, right? Didn't always feel that way here with Nussmeier. Let's go ahead and move on. So again, another thing that surprised me with Nussmeier, he's not a guy that's super afraid to take shots downfield. He will take a risk, right? I just showed a couple. Oh, no, that was another example of him making a bad decision.
Risk.
So let's go back to that. So again, here we go, right? You have a linebacker. You actually have two receivers that if you just hit one of them, probably could make a throw here that's not that bad. But instead, like, again, it's like, where are you throwing this ball? To a defender, right? Like you have two options and instead you pick the other team. It's his footwork gets a little wide. I don't know if you noticed that, Ray, but when he's throwing the ball here, right? Let's see if I could pause it. Yeah, like, do you see he kind of opens up right there? Like he's stepping out and throwing instead of to his receiver, which to me was a little concerning, right, on this one.
Locks his front leg a little bit.
Locks his front leg, and he's not hitting his guy. The accuracy that you expect from a player like this wasn't really always there. So now it's the deep ball. I'm pleasantly surprised by this throw. This was, again, maybe my second or third favorite throw of his day. Just placement-wise, you can't really ask for it to be better. And I didn't, again, we talk about this isn't a guy with like a rocket arm. This is not a guy that like has super velocity behind him. But this is like a nice, decent, 30, 40 yards. And right at this angle, like if you have a quarterback making this throw, I think the receiver does a nice job kind of taking his receiver inside so that he has room on the outside. But Nussmeier puts it on his outside. The safety's pretty far away at this point. He doesn't have an opportunity to make a play. So the receiver, that's as good a ball placement as you can ask for on this type of a route. And I didn't know that he had that in his bag. So pretty cool to see that. I also thought the ref made a terrible call. So catches it, I think, hits the pylon, and look at the ref. He's like, no, he's down at the one. He's down at the one. I'm like, what? He knocked over the pylon. But here's another example of him throwing it to his receiver, kind of doing a jump ball style thing, just taking a chance. And again, I think he did it really well because you have a bigger receiver. The receiver is going to try to box it out, right? That's predetermined. But he puts it in a place where only the receiver has a chance to make this play. So on these kind of deep, kind of like go ball routes, I was pleasantly surprised with his ability to hit those.
Yeah, and to add to the contrast, if you want to go back, we can maybe run them both even. You're the one in control here, so if I'm putting too much on your shoulders, just deal with it. But you'll notice, even if you go back to the very first angle of this play, he identifies pre-snap exactly what it is. He's got a middle closed look. There's no deep coverage to the outside. So he's going to go ahead, hold for a half second, and just let it rip. So safety in the middle of the field, he's not going to get there in time. And so notice again, you pointed it out already, the positioning of the deep ball to the outside shoulder, and this is from the opposite hash. So I don't think he can rip a throw per se from the opposite hash. He could certainly loft it up there and give a nice moon ball. But then here on the jump ball to the front side of the end zone, he's going to throw it to the inside of his receiver to allow him to take advantage of his positioning against the defender to box him out, as opposed to leading the receiver outside, which can give the opportunity for the defender to kind of finish and break the ball up from the low hip. He's going to lead him inside so he can perfectly box out the defender there for an easy touchdown. So the positioning, I think, of his throws, he did a really great job in succession here on this possession. And you see it both ways, the deep ball to the outside, and then, again, sort of the box out to the inside near the goal line.
So those are deep balls kind of to the far sidelines, right? Those are hard throws to make. At any level, those are hard throws to make. The one I'm going to show you now is an example of one of the easy throws, right? I showed you the one against Florida a few plays ago where he had two receivers and he kind of throws it right at the defender with opening his hips a little bit. These are the plays I don't really understand. So what the heck is this, right? Like open receiver in the flat. There's not a defender within 5 yards of him. Like why are we not making that throw? Like these are bread and butter throws that a guy like Nussmeier is going to have to sell NFL teams that he is a guy that makes these throws because he doesn't have other things that make him truly, truly special. So I think it's another case of maybe bad footwork, steps into the pocket poorly, feels a little bit of pressure. But to me, like, okay, you have a throwing lane, you have a throwing window. Also, again, if maybe you're 2 inches taller, this isn't a problem at all. He had time in the pocket, right? Like nobody was really hitting him. And this receiver's been open for, 2 seconds already. Why don't we make that throw happen?
Yeah, he threw away from his body when he didn't need to, but he felt pressure. And that's what happens when you throw away from your body, because you felt pressure that you could have stayed in there and delivered a good ball.
I definitely thought so. Another trend, a guy that's supposed to be kind of quick hits and keeps receivers healthy, happy. There's a lot of this too, right? Like if you see that the corner's coming down hard on the receiver and you're still doing it because it's your first read and you get him kind of lit up, there was a few instances where some of his receivers took some big hits because he's just throwing it to the guy he's supposed to throw to, and you don't really adjust, right? I see that with Tua in the NFL a lot, right? Because Tua is a guy that doesn't really have a huge arm. And sometimes Tua, again, because he's a guy that also throws in 2.25 seconds, whatever it is, it's first read and he goes, right? But sometimes that's not open, and sometimes you're going to get your receivers hurt when you do that. So I definitely don't like that. And then just kind of throwing the arm strength thing. This is the last two plays I have for us here. But arm strength, you mentioned earlier, right? He doesn't have to laser it in there on deep balls. He can have some nice touch. But at times when he would need to, this is one, right? Like that's a hard throw, right? You're going opposite hash all the way to almost the sideline. You have some, defenders coming into you, and you got to make a hard throw. When the receiver has to jump and wait for the ball, that's another way that you get a receiver hurt. And that one made me very, very nervous. So this is another angle of it. So again, he even had the pocket space to step up and do a little gallop into the throw to get a little bit more on it. You could tell that maybe the defender here is giving him concern because the defender gets a hand up and he's trying to get it over him. I don't really think that's a great excuse. So I paused it there so you could see that, right? But like the receiver jumping for the ball, having to wait for it, it doesn't make me feel good. And this is just another example. Like, again, maybe some poor footwork in the pocket. He's trying to be creative. He's trying to actually use a different arm angle, which this is the only play I saw him try to even do that. But it's really ugly, right? Like he gets nothing behind it. There's no strength in the throw. And again, it's a potential turnover play at the NFL level because that guy could definitely jump that pass.
Yeah, when you throw it late and behind because of that footwork, that could be a pick in the NFL. I think our faces were in the way of that sideline throw from the opposite hash, and probably nothing we could do about that. But yeah, trust us that the receiver had to wait for it and then kind of jump there to try to get a jump on the ball and make sure that it wasn't broken up by the defender there. So
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you calling that out. It was definitely hard to see from my angle, but I think just kind of going in summary now, right? So we got a chance to see some of his play. We went through two games: the Clemson game, the Florida game. I'll give you my high level thoughts. I want to hear yours too, Ray. This is a guy that I think could run a pro level offense well and in rhythm. He's mostly a good decision maker, willing to attempt big throws, and he's willing to go through progressions and willing to also hit the backside of the field when the front side of the field is not available to him. So those are all things I like for an NFL quarterback. But I see slow and heavy feet in the pocket. I see slowness reacting to pressure. He definitely struggled against pressure and struggled to escape it. There's very little upside with his legs when he does decide to run the ball. I think he has below level NFL arm strength. I think there's a lack of special when you watch his play as well, right? When you talk about wanting special, right? Jaden Daniels has legs, he's got accuracy. CJ Stroud has an arm that could touch any level of the field, and he's got good size. Josh Allen can run the ball, throw the ball, powerful arm. Most guys that go top 10 today offer something that shows them as special at the next level. I don't know what that is for Nussmeier, right? Because when I watched him, I don't think he's the decision maker Tua is. I don't think he has the ball placement of Stroud or Tua. He definitely doesn't have the big arm of the other guys. He doesn't have the pocket presence of a Caleb Williams. So I don't know what I look at for him and say, this is going to make him a special NFL quarterback and worthy of a top, 32 first round pick. Like, to me, this is a guy that might be falling to a third, fourth round guy, in my opinion. Like, I don't know what he offers better than Dylan Gabriel, except for 3 inches of height.
The question is, how much more blood can you extract from the stone? Because, Garrett Nussmeier, his father was an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for a couple decades now between the college and NFL levels. So this is someone who grew up in a quarterback household, like you said, is going to be 24 years old. So if there were special in there, he likely would already be collecting paychecks that have NFL on them, as opposed to still being in college. I kind of hate myself because I wrote down, and I hate doing this. I hate doing player comps. I was like, it's kind of like a little Brock Purdy. It's kind of like a little Andy Dalton. And then I was like, to check myself, because this is episode 1 of whatever season this is for our draft evaluations here. If you just Google player comp Garrett Nussmeier, those are the 2 names that come up. So now I'm upset with myself and I got to find someone else. But that's essentially what it is that he cannot carry you. He cannot carry your offense. He can keep your offense on schedule. He can keep your offense ahead of the chains for the most part. But when you're right or when you're wrong, I don't think he can make you right. And to be fair, despite that being more of a prevalent feature in today's game, there are still really maybe 10 to 12 quarterbacks in the NFL who can do that. So that's by no means saying this isn't a starting level quarterback who can win games in the league and play for a long time. But if he can't ascend what's around him, then how high do you invest in this type of talent? That's the question. It's a good thought exercise, because wasn't Andy Dalton, was he a second round pick several years ago? But where does that guy go now in today's NFL when you're seeing classes with no clear consensus, or maybe no consensus first round quarterbacks after maybe QB3, you still see 6 of them get taken in the first round. He could still be a round 1 guy come April, just depending on how things end up with the rest of the season, pre-draft process. I'm sure he's going to nail that part of the process because, like we said, this guy grew up in a quarterback household. His father's an NFL coach and a longtime college coach. So he's a pro already, and that's going to curry favor with the league and evaluators come this winter in the pre-draft process. But he's certainly not a top half of round 1 level type of talent at the quarterback position. But coaches love players who can just kind of keep you on schedule, and someone will sit there and say, I can work with him with his footwork in the pocket still, and maybe clean that up a bit. And I know that he doesn't have a tendency to put me in bad situations as far as his decision making goes. Again, I said at the beginning of this episode, we talk about trends here and we identify trends, and that's what we're showing here. So yes, there was a really, really bad interception in that Florida game in the fourth quarter, but it's not necessarily a trend with him. So he's safe. He's reliable. I don't know. Is he like a Honda? Like you could put like 250,000 miles on those things, and it'll still run. It'll get you where you need to go from point A to point B. I don't know. He's reliable, and that NFL evaluators love that.
So I'm going to give you some props, bro, because getting a player comp from you is like pulling teeth, and I just got 2. That's fantastic. Just on the first QB episode we did. That's so cool. But what's different from this player to what we saw in Shedeur Sanders last year?
I think he's better. He's less disastrous in the pocket. I think Shedeur tries too hard to extend plays in the pocket when they weren't there. Now, he had a much worse offensive line than pretty much anybody. So that was a part of it, and maybe that developed some of those bad habits. But while Nussmeier maybe can't escape certain situations in the pocket, and while you don't really see him step into throws and take shots, and instead he tries to take some of those all-arm throws that he doesn't really have the talent to get away with at the next level, he's not going to drift backwards and get sacked for negative 14 yards because he thought he could make something happen that his body just can't. He's not that type of player. So there's definitely less, or let's say more of a higher floor in the pocket down to down from someone like Nussmeier than someone like Shedeur, who also grew up in a pro household. Whatever you want to say about everything else around him, guy grew up around professionals and had an NFL offensive coordinator at Colorado. So yeah, I think he limits some of the downside that Shedeur did not.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, right? And to your point, right, he's probably going to go into these interviews and be impressive, where Shedeur was basically like, I don't need to prepare for this, right? Which was a big concern we heard afterwards. But what I saw on film, I don't think that there's much of a difference between this player, what we saw from Shedeur last year, what we kind of saw from Quinn Ewers throughout his college career, what we saw from Dillon Gabriel was, in my opinion, better than this. So I'm kind of sitting there going, if those guys were late round quarterbacks, right, maybe he's somewhere in the realm of a Dillon Gabriel because the interview process, he's going to hit a home run. And there is something too, like, a guy like Shedeur, you probably don't necessarily want as your backup quarterback because of the noise he's going to make, and he's going to create headaches, outside of the locker room. Where a guy like this, if you have to have him as your backup quarterback, maybe there's something valuable there, because that's not going to be the case, and he's going to be, a guy willing to chip in and be a clipboard holder, fine. But in terms of a starter in the NFL, again, I'm not sure there's much more upside than a Dillon Gabriel who went in the 3rd round this past draft, right? Little bit of height, right? I think that's just about it. So again, we'll be interested to see what you think. Put it in the comments. Let us know if you think we're crazy. If you think he is a 1st-round talent, let us know. Also, let us know if there's somebody you want to see next. Ray and I are going to go through the film. Maybe every couple of weeks we'll do one of these, maybe even more frequently than that, kind of pending our schedules. But yeah, I'm pumped about these. I want to keep doing them, and I'm feeling good about it. Ray, any last thoughts from you?
Yeah, maybe we'll do a couple more of these for Nussmeier too, as more comes out from this season. We are still mid-October, so there's definitely more to come, and we'll be on top of it all. But yeah, we love those. Let's do this more often. I think these are typically our most popular videos anyway. You all love to see this. So I think, after a while, because I know we win in these leagues so much that the advice is great, but you might have soaked up all that knowledge already, and it's time to look forward to the draft for some of you who are no longer contending in your all 22 leagues this season. So definitely more to come. I'm excited to do more quarterbacks, and I'd like to do them sooner than later, Chris. So maybe we'll talk offline, see how soon we could do one next.
Love it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF, and give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcast. Have a great rest of your day.